languages like Java. So you already observed about hoops concepts, which is one of the most famous concept in any programming language. Python is also one of the object-oriented programming languages. Majorly, if any programming language deals with objects, then you can consider it as an object-oriented programming language. So in Python, everything is of object. Like if you take the string, so if you take the list, so those are data types. But at the end, so it's nothing but objects. Because why we are saying that object? Because you can access the methods, right? So if you put on the dot, so it will display. So if you create one list and you assign that to a variable, and after that you just put a dot, so obviously it will display all the methods like append, delete. So these kind of a methods. How you are getting those? Nothing but an object. So in programming language, like you have a class, whatever methods you have inside that class, you create an object, and after that you access all the objects through the dot method. So in the same way, in Python, if you take the list, if you take the dictionary, if you take strings and whatever data type you take. So that's why they mention the line like almost everything in Python is an object. So why we are calling what is nothing but an object? So if you can access the properties and the methods of any particular class, it's nothing but an object. So, in generic scenarios, it's the standard definition. Okay, so class is nothing but a template or blueprint for creating objects. Object is nothing but an instance of a class. So that is a major difference between class and an object. It's like you can take consider class is kind of a formula or blueprint. Okay, so if you want to create a chemical or once you done some formula, right, you mix some ingredients. After that you get the formula. Once you get the formula, or let's assume, so you want to prepare something, like let's take VLSI example. You want to create one semiconductor chip, or if you want to design some car. So once you have the template, you know what is the way you design the template. Then after that, just a print copy, right? You have to do the copy print. Or if you want to, let's take this mobile. Okay, this is the entire inside. If you open this, you'll get the VLSI chip. So in first time, they take more time to design that particular chip. Once they got the chip, after that they just copy paste it. They just they take the template. After that, they just put and so just do this stuff. Like in childhood we have this baking objects, like you have the template of the whatever material you put in that content, so you will get that same shape. So you have alloys and you do some gaming things in childhood. So same thing, same concept here. Class is nothing but a blueprint or template, and after that object is nothing but instance of that particular class. So we'll see some examples. So I hope you already aware, you got the clarity with the example I given list methods. So just put the dot, you get all the methods. So that is nothing but a class. But in other programming languages, hooks are very important, and they explicitly use the content. But in Python, so generally we want to create classes, and we want to use so this polymorphism or inheritance or these kind of hoops concepts, because we don't need that. We already have Python. Is That's the advantage of Python. So Python is the easy language, okay, so compared to other programming languages. We don't need to do all this stuff. So ultimately what we are doing is like we're trying to solve the problem. So for that we are doing our own approach, our own methods. We don't need to explicitly create the classes and create the of course we have to create the functions and methods, but we don't need to do any classes. We have to take the polymorphism, we have to take the this inheritance. Those things are not required actually. That is advantage. So I hope you already got the clarity of this class and objects. You can see here, in case if you want to create a class, this is a syntax. You have to use this keyword as class, and after that, this is a variable. Whatever variable you are giving, that is nothing but a class. After that, you declare some content here. These are nothing but properties. And once you create this, you can create the object like this. P1 equal to my class of this method. So in this case, what happens? Whatever methods or properties which are available in this my class, with the same help of this dot, you can access it. That's the advantage of this class and object. Same thing, guys. Like you already see in this list methods, tuples, and etc. So doing the same thing. Just put the dot. Strings also, just put the dot. After that, you can access the lowercase. Access the just checking is lowercase or is capital, or all these methods which we already covered in this previous example. So we just go through those methods and you will understand what other methods are available, how we are accessing it. In the same way, we are doing that stuff. So Yeah, this is a way to create an object. Just click on write yourself and see fine how you are doing. So you already have one class and you have that variable, and you created one object for that particular class, and after that you are just using that, just accessing that. Putting the dot, you will get to know what are the value it was there. So just able to see here. So yeah. So that's it, guys. Init is one of the most important one to understand. So init method means whenever you create an object, the init method is called by itself. Like this is the way to create an object. Okay, you are calling the class, and so whenever you call them, whenever you create an object, now by default this init method will be executed. So no, it's like a constructor. In Java we have constructors. So the same way we have this concept of constructor here. So it's nothing but whenever simply understand like whenever an object is created, this init method will be called. Whatever values are there, so those will be assigned to this. So this is the way you can design. Okay, so you can create your own stuff. So here what it was doing. So they're passing the content like John will be go to name and 36 will be go to age, and after that these things, and once they created the object, they're just accessing it. V1 dot name. So obviously the name is like what once it once it will come to here, and after that this data will be entered into this, and name will be stored as John and age will be stored as 26, and after that this P1 has these properties, and one of the properties like name, so they're just accessing it. So what value is here? So let's take P2. So let's take P2 equal to person. I'm creating another object, and I'm just passing the name as Sonu, and age as 48. So let's see this. Uh, Next, let's take P2 same P2 dot name here P2 dot age. So now we will get the so John comma soon, then after that is the exponent. So this is a way that you can create the so class, you can create this done init method, and after that whenever you create the objects you can access to this. So you can click and you can just play these things. So if you won't understand actually you don't need to worry anything. Okay? In real time scenario, these are not that much important. uh, like obviously it is important because in other programming languages, but in Python we won't use that much often. We use very rare. You can use this class and method. In the past you already know, so you don't do nothing. You can just click on this and you can just buy this thing. So inheritance means it's a generic word. Okay, in real time scenario, so you inherit the properties of your parents or behavior of like uh, behaviors of your parents, and so in the same way. So that is the concept. So already some properties are there. So by default, you will get those properties. Those are nothing but inheritance. So in Python also you have different classes like parent classes, the child classes there. So obviously, child class will get the properties of the parent by default. So that is nothing but an inheritance concept. Okay, so we will see this example. Okay, so this is the way to declare a class. After that, they created one class, the name of person. First, human person is the class they created. Human has first name and last name, and after that, what they're doing, so they're just printing. Okay, first name, what is his first name, and what is his last name, and they created the child class, and this is the way you have to pass. So ultimately what happens is you have a parent class, you created one child class. How you create, this is a syntax. This is the way you are creating student in the child class. How you are inheriting this parent person is the parent class, so already it's there. So if you pass within the parentheses, if you pass within the arguments, if you pass this particular class, then it indicates like student is a child class and parent is the person is the parent class, and the student got all the properties of that person. So that is the indication. It's the way you can so declare. So yeah, so that's it. So in that case, what happens? So whatever methods in this class you don't have any method, but still you can access all the methods which are present in the person, because that is the concept of inheritance. So the child got all the properties of the parent. So that is the thing happening here. So see in this example, this guy X is a variable. So by using the student you created that variable, sorry, student you created using just calling the student class, and you created the object, and that object the name is like X. You're passing this data like Mike and also, so it will go to here because this is the first name and last name, so it will go here whenever you create an object. So by default init method will be called. So after that you can access the print name, so because that person has only this method, but this student doesn't have any method, still you can access the parent. That is that concept is known as inheritance. Why? Because you mentioned here in this way you given. That's the advantage, guys. You can just click on it, you can just try it yourself. So Python is also have a super function also that will make child class inheritance all the methods and properties from its parents. So in Java you have super class and subclass and many the keywords are there. In Python also you have that. Super means like whatever methods you have from the uh, parent will get all the methods. So it's like, see, let's take child also have some properties with the same name, like so child also have the same name, same methods, but if you give the super, by default you will get the parent one, like what are the methods you given at the top, so you can access those things. That's the advantage of this super. So you don't need to worry much about this thing. Just go through the content and just see what it was written there and what you need to understand. So like you don't need to have to use the name of the parent element. Okay. So in this example, you just passing class and student in this way they inherited. And so the next examples you can see here. So yeah, that's the advantage, guys. So you don't need to mention any, so parent name. So by default, it will inherit all the methods and properties of the parent if you use the super keyword. Super is the keyword. Okay. That's it. Next, we'll go for iterators. Iterators means like next element, guys. Like we already did in the for loop. Okay, so before going to this, I'll just cover this. If you click on this for loop, then what happens? It will execute one by one, right? So X is a variable, and whatever values which are present inside the tuple, so it will be executed in the loop wise, one by one. So that's what's happening here. You already know. So in the same way, so iter means what? Iter means it will give the next iteration. It will do the next iteration. If you pass iter of my tuple, then my it has this property. Okay. So then if you use this next keyword of my it, then initial first it will give apple, next it will give banana, next it will give cherry. So this is the sequence, guys. Instead of using this for loop, they're using this method. So that's it. So that's the advantage. Okay. Without using this it, iter and next, you can simply use the for loop. You can execute that. That's why I showed you the for loop example. So okay, so the same concept is you don't need to worry much. Iter and next are just like so to get the next element, next sequence. For that purpose, they use this. Then polymorphism. So poly means many, morphs means forms. Okay, so poly means many, morph means forms. It's like you have in a program you have many methods actually. Methods means there are situations like method name will be same. So in that case, how you can manipulate, that is the concept of this polymorphism. There are techniques like so you can enhance the number of arguments you're going to pass for a particular method. You can change the logic behind function of you can change the logic of the function. Then also you can do this polymorphism step. So they given this example, just understand this. So it refers to methods of function, the same name that can be executed on many objects or classes. Like see in a programming we have some situation arises like there are methods with the same name, but the logic will be different. Whatever the method it's going to perform, that is going to be different. That is the meaning of polymorphism. There is the same name, but it will execute the different something. So there is a place known as reading in England. So reading is a country, I mean it's a city name. But in generally, so reading is to study, so that's the meaning. But so see here you can see the difference. Okay, the both are same, but it is a place. But reading is a place in England, and the reading is like what you do, what you study. So it's like the same name but doing different purpose. Like it's the same concept. Okay, How you going to define that? By changing the number of arguments, by changing the logic, you're going to define polymorphism. So we can see this. They given some example like strings length. We already covered this. Length means what? It will give the number of letters which are present inside the strings, whatever. So it is a 12, like so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are total 12 characters which are present in this string, including the space. That is also you have to consider as one character. So that's why you got the length as 12. Next, if you see this, what tuples are written, the number of items. It's not like that's the beauty. So see, real time scenario. Okay, if you just take this word, so it was calculating the number of characters, but if you use this tuple, the same method length, it was doing in a different way. How it was doing, it will give the length as three. See, so if according to that logic, it has to give Apple has what one, three, four, five characters, then this has seven. So total it was like around 16 or 17. So that is the number of length. But length is like only three. Why? Because the tuple, this entire thing will become as one. This entire thing will become as another one. This will be one. So total three elements are there. So that's why you got the length as three. That is the polymorphism concept. Okay. So I hope now you got the clarity. If you check the length of this particular dictionary, it's also given a three. Why? Because it's a key and it's a value. This entire thing will be considered as one item. So this entire thing will be considered as another item. This is another item. So total three items. And that's why you got the length of this particular dictionary is three. Yeah. So that's the concept of this polymorphism, guys. And you can see with this example also. Classes is there, so you can check this example. So the same class name is different, but the methods are same. See, same length, the method is same, but the class is like that is a tuple, that is a string. So in that way it was varying, right? So that is the concept of this polymorphism. So see, same method, but it was a different class. See, one is creating car, one is creating boat, one is creating plane. That's it. Just go through it, you will understand. It won't be much difficult. Okay? So I covered most of the examples and just click on try to yourself so that you can understand. Poly means many more of these forms. That's it. So you can ultimately in a summary. So that is it. So you have the same names, but how you are dealing with the same name methods by changing the logic inside the function or by increasing the number of arguments. So those are the ways to use the polymorphism. So next one is like scope. Scope means so every person has certain scope in life. So like if you are a boyfriend, then you have some scope. So in one particular person life, in your girlfriend life, it's like you're not her, so soul like. So it's like you're not completely her life. Okay? You're not her 100% life. You are a part of her. You have to understand the same thing. So someone is your part of your life. That is the scope you given to that person. So your mother is okay, please, so she's a priority. So she's like 90% of your priority. Maybe the next 10% is like remaining people. So that is a scope you are assigning to someone. So in the same in programming also scope is there. Scope is in PUBG there is a scope, but you don't need to worry about that. So that is a different concept. So that you're going to see. So that is it. So local scope. I mean there are two things. One is local and another is global. So global means you can access that variable completely around the program. So whatever inside the method, outside the method. So that is the uh, advantage of that global variable. Local means you can access the element within that block. Within that, if you declare a variable inside a function, the scope of that particular variable is only till that part. So once it is out, so you can't access that. It doesn't have any value. So that's the concept of this local scope and global scope. We'll see with an example. Okay, so here we see here. So here the x value we are calling this function. The value of x is 300. We are printing this. We got the result as 300. Fine. Next, this is like local variable. Why? Because it was inside a function. Function inside another function. Okay, so you're calling this, and what happening here? My function is called this star. Then after that inside, again you declare this. This is this. In this case, you print this. So you again got this 300. So why? Because this function will be called. Then again this will be called. So whatever value for this particular function, this x is a global scope, right? That's why you got the value as 300. Global scope means you give an outside. So if you give an outside, you can call that variable wherever you want. It need not be inside. Even though if it is a function inside, it will execute. It is outside, it will execute. Let's try this example. We'll get see. So I created one variable which is the outside of the function, and it is nothing but a global scope. It has a global scope. I'm just calling this method. I'm just calling this method. So this method has this print statement, and next I didn't define here inside that function block. I define outside. Still it was executed and got the values 300. Now again I print this x because it is outside. So I got the result. Let's assume I remove this things here and I declared here x equal to 300. So I have to do this again. So in this case, what happens? My function will be called. This one will be executed. This one will be error. Why? Because x is not defined. X is defined inside that, so it has only local scope. The scope of this variable x is still this block. After that, x is no more. Life also x will be won't be there for long time. Okay, so it will be there for temporary time. That's it. So we have to move out of the scope. So in the same way, so if it is a global, then it has access like this. Consider like global means your partner like soulmate like soulmate will be there for your life. So X is like temporary, so it won't have any impact in your life. Same way, so forget about it. So see the concept is same here. So if I declare outside of the loop, then let's take this example. I commented this. Actually, let me run this. We'll get the value as 300. See, by calling this function, this has a variable, this is a scope, got the result. But if I print this, you're getting error. Why? Because x doesn't exist here. X doesn't exist. So that's why we got the error. So if I given this variable as x equal to 300 there, then it is a global scope. If you give inside the function, then also it will work. If you give outside, you're calling that one outside also. So that's the scope of this global and local variables. Yeah, see, hope you got the clarity now. Then naming variables, we already covered this. It doesn't mean. Or there is one more thing. Okay, so if you want to print like this, you have to give one keyword which is known as global. In that case, it will work. In that case, even though you can ask what next is not there outside, but still I'm able to print the text and I got the result as this. So why? Why? Because they given the variable for the variable they ask it as global. So if there's someone declared some variable as global, as a scope, so even though you call outside, it will work fine. Yeah. So non-local, these things are like local, global. So these things. Okay. So I already covered this method. Okay. So so if we give outside of any particular, then that's the global. For the def, my function to x is the what's the global variable inside the next function. You can check this one. So wait, these are not like need to. I hope you got the clarity of this global variable and local variable. What's the scope of that? So that's if you have that awareness, it's more than enough. You don't need to worry. So next we'll cover the remaining things in the next sessions. Okay. So we'll see what is the module